Hi, welcome to Pieces of 8-Bit. We are on our third road trip today. I will leave my past self to introduce the video. Let's get on the road and see what we got up to.
Okay, time circuit's on, flux capacitor, fluxing, engine running. All right.
Hey there, Retro Gamers. This is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. Welcome to, welcome to the United Nations. Yeah, look, United Nations. Yeah, no, not convinced. Well, you'd be right to not be convinced. This is actually Milton Keynes, and this is the train station. The reason it was called the United Nations is because in 1987, this is where they filmed Superman 4: Quest for Peace, which I'm sure you'd probably agree is one of the worst Superman movies, but I was growing up here as a kid in the 80s. I would have been about 10 years old when they were filming that, so the idea that they were filming Superman in my hometown was very exciting. The reason was because one was budget. They were filming down in Elstree and they had very limited budget, and so they came up to Milton Keynes because it looks a little bit like an American city. That was the idea. So yeah, so we're here. It's a beautiful day. We are going to go to Pixel Bunker in a bit and the National Sci-Fi and Film Museum, and then we'll be going to the Hangout later on. I'll talk to you about all of those places as we visit. We're staying here overnight, and then we'll be going to Bletchley Park tomorrow and the National Computing Museum. So this is a real trip down memory lane for me. Like I say, it is like a step back in time. A lot of things have changed, but a lot of things are still the same. And Milton Keynes just has that real 80s vibe. I think it always will do. Maybe that's just because I grew up here in the 80s, but I just feel like so much of the architecture and the place is so 80s. So this is a real retro trip for me. So strap in and enjoy the ride, and we'll see you at our first venue very shortly. Right, so we're at the first of our locations for visit today. So we are at the National Sci-Fi and Film Museum. If you could just see the sign there. There we go. Looks pretty cool. So yeah, not necessarily directly game related, but retro. So we're going to give it a go. Looks like there's some cool stuff in there. So I can see some stormtroopers in the window. So that's already going to be a good start. So let's go in and have a look. So lots of promise coming into the Sci-Fi and Film Museum. Next door, as you can probably see, is Pixel Bunker, which we'll be visiting later on. So the two are right next door to each other, although they don't do like a sort of discount, which is a bit of a shame really. If you're going to do both, it'd be quite good to be able to sort of get a price on both. But on the plus side, it is handy that they're both there. Downside, as I mentioned before, we couldn't really take a lot of photographs or film a great deal in here. So we've got quite a bit of stuff from sort of outside of the venue to give you a bit of a flavour. So quite a bit of Star Wars stuff here you're seeing at the moment. Oh yeah, some James Bond memorabilia. I'm not even sure where the terracotta guy came from. Not sure. Maybe Mission Impossible even. Obviously obligatory stormtrooper, so this is all on the outside so far, and yeah, we've got the also the Ghostbusters Firehouse logo, which is something I'd absolutely love in my office. So we went straight into the venue after that. Oh yes, Playmobil Spock. I did ask the kids how he would do his Vulcan salute with those kind of hands, but there you go. So saw Ludo first. He was one of the first things that we could have a photograph taken with, so those blue signs all the way around, so we could have a photo and some selfies with Ludo, which was quite sweet. Then there was E.T. available for us to have a look at and have a selfie with.
You can just sort of see some of the stuff in the background, but we're actually supposed to kind of remove the vast majority of it. Next up, there's Ollie, who you know if you've been watching some of my videos where he's been with me, next to an Ood. And then another picture of an Ood. Oh no, that was the same picture of the Ood next to the TARDIS control panel, which is kind of cool. So you should all recognise this. This is the phone box from Bill and Ted. Obviously had to have a go in there. Everybody had to have a photograph in this. This was really cool. Just to be very careful with it. And there was just loads of stuff. It was all really random. Loads of stuff. There was some sort of theme sections. So we had, there was quite a bit of Star Wars stuff, none of which we could film. Things like Battlestar Galactica. Adam's Family was in there. All sorts as well. And of course this is Game of Thrones that you're seeing now. So Oliver sitting on the Game of Thrones throne there. Despite the looks, this was actually made of plastic. Sorry for shattering your world, but probably was something that was used on set. Most things here were. Oh yes, the Muppets. Brilliant. I really did love this. Who doesn't love the Muppets, right? And then we got some Harry Potter stuff here. Obviously, this again would have all been used in Harry Potter movies. You can obviously go down to the Harry Potter experience down in London. You're going to see a lot more stuff than that, but it was all really cool to see it here. Yeah, and then we got Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, absolutely brilliant. Followed by Sully having his picture taken with Oliver there again, of course. And then we're into the gift shop, and this is the kind of gift shop which was really not a massive hardship. Most of the time, gift shops are like, oh, what a bummer, I've got to go in the gift shop. But this gift shop was just full of so much stuff. You could have spent thousands in here easily and not even necessarily had that much to show for it. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Loads of Lego minifigs, pops, all that kind of stuff. Or you see some badges here as well. So absolutely brilliant.
So we just had a walk around the National Sci-Fi Museum. Unfortunately, due to copyright, we couldn't take a lot of photographs. So I've obviously taken a few, which you've seen, but it is really, really cool. Just in the gift shop at the moment, this place is amazing. There are some like original merchandise in here. We've got, what else? We got like Star Wars stuff, Lord of the Rings stuff. Loads of really cool pop heads. If you're into your Walking Dead, they've got some Walking Dead pop heads. You can just see there. So yeah, loads of really, really cool stuff in here. And you can have your photograph with Sully. Look, there he is. Some fantastic memorabilia to buy, film memorabilia. So just down here in the cabinet, there is some Stranger Things memorabilia, some Star Wars memorabilia, Rocky, whatever you like. So lots and lots of things to spend your money on in here. And I have just seen something which I think is absolutely amazing, which is something I had as a kid, which I can buy, which I'm just going to walk down here. So yeah, up the top here is an Imperial shuttle. You're just about to see that. I used to have one of those when I was a kid, and I sold it for about £5, and now they're up there for over £1,000 boxed, which is crazy. But yeah, absolutely amazing. So definitely worth a visit, but just be prepared to not be able to take any photographs or videos apart from in designated areas, which is a bit of a shame, but I do totally get it. So yeah, that is the Sci-Fi Museum. So next up is going to be Pixel Bunker. Okay, so this is our next stop. This is Pixel Bunker, right next door to, you can see around here, hang on, right next door to the National Sci-Fi Museum that we were in this morning. We've got 3 hours of playtime in here, so yeah, we're going to make good use of that. I've seen some signs that suggest there might be Outrun in here, so I'm very excited about that. It's a free play, so it's about for the family of 4 with 2 kids under the age of 15. It's about £47, so it's not too bad. 3 hours of entertainment. All the games are paid for, so you don't have to pay for anything else when you're in there. Like I say, it's right next door to the Sci-Fi Museum that we went to earlier, so the shop is the same, but yeah, should be good. So I'll see you inside. If you can hear me, wow, this place is amazing. The difficult part about now is what do I choose to play first? I've already spotted Daytona. That's definitely an opportunity there, I think. I'm going to see if I can find Outrun. It suggested it was in here, so I'm going to go and have a look. So yeah, looks great. I'm looking forward to the next 3 hours.
So yeah, we didn't find Outrun, but we did find this absolutely cracking machine. This is the original arcade link-up Sega Rally. I absolutely adore this game. I have recently bought the Sega Saturn version. I have the Sega Rally 2 on the Dreamcast. But this, the arcade version from 1995, is absolutely brilliant. If you can play this with your friends, family, anybody who's willing to play with you, then this is an absolute blinder. So yeah, we're just having a look through the we'll just have a little bit of watch of the gameplay here. I already know the outcome. It makes me kind of sad, which means you probably have worked out what the outcome is now. Yeah, outrageous. There's some outrageous driving from my eldest son. I might add here, but yeah, this was absolutely brilliant. So yes, there you have it. He won, and obviously very gracious in victory, as you can see. There's my youngest son having a bit of a go on Frogger, an absolute classic arcade game, and well, I've just played this on just about every platform ever. I think this has just come out on just about everything, and obviously still continues to exist today in the shape of Crossing Roads, basically the same thing. Really tricky game actually, but yeah, he seems to be doing quite well at it. And then this is Street Fighter 2, and no arcade would be complete without it. You've got to play it in the arcade. This is the best place to play it. This is my youngest son playing with my wife, and yeah, I think from what I recall, he pretty much has the measure of this. There's a lot of button mashing that goes on. I'm not sure how much of it is skill, but he is, yeah, he's kind of kicking ass there by the looks of it. Yeah. Needless to say, I don't think I played a game with him. I don't think that's probably very wise. He always picks Chun-Li. I think that is generally considered to be the best option if you know the special moves. So yeah, I found Daytona, a game you all know I love. I've mentioned this one before. So, you know, there's quite a few good races in here, making up for the fact that although it said Outrun outside, there wasn't an Outrun machine in here. But yeah, Daytona's a great one. I've got this on the Saturn, which is probably the best version. I don't know if it's the only version, might be the only version, I'm not sure actually, but certainly it's an amazing version on console, but the arcade version, as always, is absolutely the best. So I had a really good play of this. I think I got up to about 8th or 9th, which doesn't sound that impressive, but I was quite pleased with myself, especially for an arcade game. So yeah, so that was Daytona. So yeah, we never did find Outrun, but we did find this absolute classic. This is Afterburner with the original stick shaker. I remember playing this in a cabinet back in the day, but yeah, this is still amazing like this. Oliver had a bit of a go at this as well. What a difficult game it is as well. It's so difficult to play. Also found some other absolute classics in here. So a bit of Super Hang-On. Yeah, another absolute classic. I remember the version with the bike. You could sort of tilt from one side to the other. But yeah, this was pretty much the theme of the whole 3 hours. We kept discovering these amazing sort of classic machines, some of which I hadn't seen for a long time. Some games I hadn't seen before as well, and you've got all your usuals, you know, your Pac-Mans and your Galaxians, all that kind of thing. Oh yes, and who can forget Time Crisis 2? This is probably one of the best point and shoot games ever produced in an arcade, in my opinion. I absolutely adore this game. Such a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't know, basically you step on, you're in undercover, or you're in cover, and you press the pedal and then you sort of pop up, and then you shoot, and then when you go back down again, you sort of reload your weapon. So it's basically just point and shoot, but it's really, really good fun, especially good fun as 2 players. So it was really great to see this particular machine here in the arcade. And they had quite a lot of shooters actually. They also had House of the Dead 2, which is another one of my favourites, which you can only really play in the arcade unless you've got a CRT now. If you've got the laser guns, that won't really work anymore. Another classic racer, so Sega Touring Car. This was right next door to Sega Rally. A lot of these you had to queue to try and get on, both playing. I'm not entirely sure I've ever really played Sega Touring Car before, but this was a really good fun game, very much in the spirit of Sega Rally in terms of sort of graphics and gameplay. It's really good fun, and it's such a shame for me, really, that Sega don't make good races anymore. You know, they're very focused on the Blue Hedgehog, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that seems to be all they do. And you know, when you come to an old arcade, you know, an arcade like this where they've got all these old machines, these sort of races where you sit together and play together, you know, you're reminded of how amazing Sega races were. So please, Sega, do some more. So yeah, so that was our 3 hours. Yeah, and you can see here a load of other games that we played. I could go on all day about some of them. Track and field, that's like a classic. You've got to have track and field, right? So yeah, some games we hadn't heard of. But so in terms of would I recommend coming to Pixel Bunker? Oh yeah, if you love old arcades, this is one of the best ones that I've been to. I'm always going to have a soft spot for Retroids in Worcester. I think that's probably my favourite. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I do absolutely love it here. There was plenty of games to play. It really did feel like 3 hours wasn't quite enough. I think we left just about on the nose in terms of that. I think the kids were shattered. So yeah, we had a really good time here. Afterwards, we just sort of popped back into the shopping centre and went and did a bit of retro shopping. So yeah, a great few hours had by all. This was a really enjoyable experience. So I definitely recommend getting down to Pixel Bunker and taking a look for yourself. Absolutely great fun. And now on to our next venue.
I don't know what's going on. Any ideas? No.
Hey everyone, this is the last stop for the day, certainly for the channel anyway. I'm currently at a place called the Hangout, which is in the Snow Dome in Milton Keynes. Basically this is another kind of pay and play arcade. But the lovely thing about this place is it's actually, the proceeds go to a charity, the Willen Hospice charity. So it's nice. You just sort of pay, I think it's about £5 each to go in. There looks like a cool retro shop in here as well, which we're also going to go check out. So yeah, let's go check it out.
I did actually record a little bit of audio over the top of this short film clip here, but it was so noisy that you can't hear me speaking very well. So I thought I'd just record it anyway. But as you can see, loads and loads of things to buy. And the really nice thing is that, yeah, as I mentioned before, that a lot of this goes to charity. But some absolute bargains to be had, and I'll show you at the end what stuff I picked up. But I picked up loads from here, really reasonably priced bargains, t-shirts, all of that kind of thing, really. Lots of memorabilia, and you can see it's a bit smaller than Pixel Bunker, but it is sort of meant as a bit more of a laid-back thing. You can play games, as you could just see there. You can play board games. You get about an hour, and you can pick a board game if you want to. Have a cup of coffee. And have a load of retro consoles that you can play on, and obviously the arcade machines as well, which you're able to play on. And the way that they work is they're sort of like, if you sort of think of like a Piecade or Raspberry Pi, they've got a load of games on them which you can play. You can sort of select what you want. So they are all branded up, but you can play whatever games you like on them, so that you don't have to sort of wait for someone to finish. Yeah, which is really nice. They're really cool. Yeah, you get about an hour. I think it's £5 each, and if it's a family of 4, they charged us £15 for an hour, which meant that we could just sort of sit and chill. We played on a few games. As you can see just off to the right there for a second, they had a Wii set up with a big screen for playing Mario Kart. Yeah, and if you happen to live in the area, you can have parties there as well. So it's just really nice. You know, if you want to go and spend a bit more money, obviously definitely go and check out Pixel Bunker. But if you fancy just sort of a chilled out hour, fancy a coffee, maybe play a couple of board games, pick up some bargains, then the Hangout is absolutely brilliant. We had a really good time, and it was a really nice way for us to finish the day after being on our feet and walking around the city centre all day. So this was quite nice. The only downside was it was quite a long walk back to the hotel, so by the time we got back we were absolutely shattered. But a great time had in Hangout. I can definitely recommend it, and obviously the fact that the fact that it's a charity-run organisation just makes it all the better as well. So if you happen to be in the area, definitely go and check it out. Yeah, really, really good. So that was the end of our first day in Milton Keynes, and now we got some well-earned rest after a bit of dinner, and the next morning we headed off to Bletchley Park. So let's go straight over to Bletchley Park.
Good morning from a less sunny day at Milton Keynes. I'm currently at Bletchley Park, which is the home of the Codebreakers in the Second World War, and this is where Alan Turing was, so the birthplace of modern computing. So we're going to have a good look around Bletchley Park today. I've been here before, but a long time ago. I think it's changed quite a lot, so really looking forward to seeing what's different. But also here is the National Computing Museum, which we didn't go around last time. I think it was just in its early stages, so we're going to have a good look around there as well, and do some footage and show you how our day went. So let's get inside and have a look.
Okay, so I totally get that Bletchley Park has probably got nothing to do with retro gaming, but I definitely recommend coming and having a look. Ultimately, when you think about it, this is where computing all began, and the significance of this place is incredible. So if you happen to be in Milton Keynes, I would definitely recommend coming and having a look. It really is a wonderful place to visit. Ultimately, it's just a really nice place to be. As you can see, there's this lake here and the mansion in the background. It's just a really lovely place to be. It's such nice grounds. It's so much better than it was when we came before, and it was really starting to crumble. So they've put a lot of investment into making it a place worth visiting. So much information to take in, so much detail, and a fascinating story about what happened at this place. And it kind of leads on to, as you'll see when we go to the National Computing Museum, you'll see the importance of what happened here, but, not just because of the war effort, but also technology and the future in computing and everything else like that. So very, very interesting. Great place to find out about Alan Turing, someone that really in this country wasn't properly appreciated until much more recently. So yeah, also definitely recommend taking the tour. That's worth a visit, worth a go. You'll get more information from the tour, and the tour guides are really, really interesting as well. They will give you lots of additional information that you wouldn't have ordinarily had by just sort of walking around by yourself.
You could not do that then, but now a 45-minute train ride to the south.
So after the tour, which took about an hour, we headed over to Hut 8, which is one of the sort of most famous places in Bletchley Park, where Alan Turing was, where a lot of the work was done to work out how to break those infamous codes. So we had a good old walk around there. You can have a walk around a few of the huts as well. There's other museums on site that you can go and have a look at. Lots and lots of information to take in, and lots of explanation about how the codebreaking was done and how the Enigma machines worked as well. And then we headed over to one of my favourite bits, which is where the bomb machine is, and talks a little bit about how we first cracked the 3-dial Enigma machine.
So we've just done a walk around Bletchley Park, did a fantastic little tour. So we're just actually looking at this. Behind me here is the bomb, which was used to break the codes, the Enigma codes on the 3-dialed Enigma machines back in the Second World War. An absolute deal breaker, and helped to end the war much sooner. So yeah, it's been a really fascinating day so far. So just keep going and exploring.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we did. Carried on exploring. We were there till about 3 o'clock. So really, we were actually in a little bit of a rush at the end, because I wanted to get everything in, and we only had a couple of hours left at the end of the day to go over to the National Computing Museum, which isn't quite as big, but we still wanted a couple of hours to have a good look around there as well. So we did kind of skirt around the site quite quickly towards the end of the day after we'd had a bit of lunch. But nice thing is, if you buy the tickets, they're good for a whole year. So if you don't get everything in and you happen to be within spitting distance of Milton Keynes, you can pop back and have another look round and take a bit more time. And I think that's what we'll probably do. We'll probably come back and have a bit more of a chill out day. You know, to take a bit more time over lunch, perhaps go when the weather's nice, take a picnic, something like that. So lots and lots of things to see and do, and it can easily fill a day. But I would definitely recommend coming to see this. Yeah, okay, like I said, not exactly retro gaming, but a really interesting place to visit if you're in any way interested in any of the code-breaking stuff or any of the kind of mathematics or problem solving that happen there. Then come and take a look. If you're interested in the advent of modern computing, then this is the place also to visit. You know, it's like I say, this is where Alan Turing is most now well known and associated. And so yeah, brilliant day and a really lovely place to visit. So definitely recommend it. Come take a look. So next we headed over to the National Museum of Computing, which was literally just around the corner. So we seem to manage to do that in Milton Keynes, is to find a couple of places that just seem to be right next door to each other. So let's go check that out. This was the last stop of our whistle stop tour of Milton Keynes and Bletchley, and our end of our road trip, part number 3.
Hey there, right, well this is the last stop of our Geek Out weekend in Milton Keynes. So we are at the National Museum of Computing, right next door to Bletchley Park. So yeah, it's a long time since I've been here. Basically, it's a pretty decrepit looking building, but from what I can remember, there's some pretty cool stuff in here, including an old BBC computer classroom, as well as loads of old bits of computer technology, and I believe also the Colossus is here, which gets mentioned in Bletchley Park, which was developed during the Second World War. But let's go inside and have a look. And yeah, a little bit sad our weekend's nearly at an end. We've done loads and it feels like we've just got here. So let's go check out the National Museum of Computing.
So yeah, we had a good couple of hours in the National Museum of Computing, and this here is actually, you probably recognise it from the previous section, which was the bomb machine, B-O-M-B-E, that's spelled. This is an actual working one, whereas the other one was sort of a replica. I've seen Oliver's reflection in the screen there. This is actually a proper working replica, so you can see the real complexity of how this thing was put together. In the film, with Benedict Cumberbatch, Imitation Game, they sort of make this look bigger, even bigger and more complex for sort of Hollywood purposes. But this is the real thing. Obviously, it was all dismantled during the war, so well, just after the war. So all of this stuff had to be rebuilt and reconstructed from what little people knew and what kind of bits and pieces people could pull together to reconstruct it. And that's the same with a lot of the stuff here. It had to be sort of reconstructed by hand, which was crazy. There's an Enigma machine there as well. So the crossover with Bletchley Park is kind of obvious to see, really, and it kind of just illustrates that kind of switch from the war effort and the code breaking into modern computing, and you know, how we all recognise modern computing and interact with computing and communication, and all of those things kind of started here, really. A lot of it started here. A lot of that innovation was created here. So yeah, it was really good to see that fully working version of the bomb, and yeah, look at the complexity of that in the back. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. You can't even begin to fathom how that came out of somebody's head when we had never done anything like that before. So all around the rest of the place, lots of collections of things. There was a calculator gallery. This was the Tunny machine. So the Tunny machine was basically the Germans had after Enigma, they had something called Lorenz cipher machine, which was more complex and much harder to crack. And so they built the Tunny machine basically essentially just from very little knowledge of what it was, just in terms of what it did. They kind of figured it out, and some incredible brains basically rebuilt this machine, built this machine to crack the Lorenz, which was also incredibly important. Everybody remembers Enigma and Alan Turing, but this was also a very, very important thing. So now we headed into one of my favourite parts of the museum, and probably one of the most important computers ever built. This was the Colossus, built by a chap called Tommy Flowers and his team at Bletchley Park. And this was essentially, well, not essentially, this was the world's first programmable digital computer. A little bit bigger than what we're used to seeing, right? But, you know, this was incredibly important. This was also built during World War II, part of the war effort, part of the code-breaking effort. And I remember coming here to Bletchley Park a while ago, and they were just reconstructing this. Incredible machine. They built a Colossus 2 afterwards, when the complexity increased constantly. The Germans were changing how they were sending their messages, and so we needed something a bit quicker and a bit faster, and they built the Colossus 2. But yeah, an incredibly important piece of equipment. Then we headed into the sort of modern computing era, and I say modern, we're talking sort of mid-70s to the sort of 2000s and up to date now, really. And this was this sort of large mainframe machine room, data storage room. Some incredible pieces of equipment in here. That's a printer you're just seeing there. Yeah, there was too much to kind of share with you all the time. They've got some enormous data disk platter things that were like, you know, 8 megabytes in size and bigger than a dinner table. It was incredible, really. You know, it's a fascinating place to come and look to see kind of how computing has evolved and moved on in what I would consider to be a pretty short amount of time, really. So lots of things to come and have a look at, and the thing that's really great about the National Computing Museum is there's lots of interactivity. So there's a lot of this old stuff you can actually kind of have a go with and play with. Some of it you can't; it's too delicate and it's old, and you can't touch it. But a lot of it you can do, and quite a lot of them are running some games as well. So next up, we started getting into an era that I recognise. This is the evolution of programming languages. Yeah, a quick whiz through these. I'm not going to go through this in detail. You'll all be asleep by the end. Yeah, started to see some computers that I recognise. So Commodore PET there, I think that is, I believe, yeah. And some old PCs. And then we started to get into some of the really cool stuff that I remember. Just look at this shelf of loveliness. It puts my rather meagre console collection into perspective, I guess. A lot of it working, as you can see, which is just really awesome. And then look what we found next. We found the games. We found some of the games. We thought we found all the games, but yeah, we found some of the games. We've got Commodore 64 bits and pieces there, some tapes and cartridges. And then look, a list of awesome computers. Archimedes A3010, usually used in schools in the 90s, remember it well. My absolute favourite, the Amiga 500, that is playing Paperboy. We got its rival, bitter rival, the Atari ST, which was playing R-Type. Had a go at that. That's such a good game. Doesn't matter what platform you play it on, absolutely spectacular. Yeah, look at that Amiga over there. Then we have the ZX Spectrum Plus, which was playing Jetpack. Had a good go on that. What a great game Jetpack actually is. Oliver's playing International Soccer, I think, on the Commodore 64. Got Texas Instruments TI-99. Not something I played all that often. I can't remember what game it was that was in there. Not a game I'd heard of before. An Apple II. Something which I haven't seen for a long time. I think there was Macintosh knocking about somewhere as well, but I think that was on that shelf I just showed you a moment ago. BBC B, this was the 80s school staple. As I've mentioned before in many videos, this is what came in on the trolley outside our classroom. We knew that when that appeared, it was going to be a good day. And then the Atari 800, another absolute classic sort of console computer. Yeah, you can buy the mini versions of those nowadays, so look at that there in all its glorious magenta colour. So yeah, we sat down and had a bit of a play after that for a good few minutes, yes, much reminiscing was to be had. as I mentioned, had a good old go on Jetpack. I remember playing this on the VIC-20. This is a really good fun game, actually. It's really, really hard. Basically, the idea is you've got to assemble your rocket ship. So when you start on the first level, your rocket ship's in parts. You have to assemble each bit, and then you have to fuel it up. And then the next level, you sort of do the same thing again, where you have to just sort of get the fuel and collect the points. And it gets incredibly, increasingly harder as you go along, like any other good game. I used to be able to get to about level 3 or 4 of this back in the day, and I think when you played it on the VIC-20, because this was such a highly intensive graphics game, I think it required a 4K RAM extension. There we go, look, completed the level, rocket goes up, rocket comes straight back down. Pretty sad life for that poor little astronaut, really, just going and collecting fuel for his rocket all the time. But yeah, that was really good fun. Oliver had a good go on Paperboy as well. So that was on the Amiga. I didn't even realise it was actually on the Amiga. So yeah, it was quite a pretty looking version of Paperboy compared to the versions that I've played or have been used to myself in the past. So yeah, we had a good old play on some of these old machines, and then we moved on to the next room where we found even more goodies. And there we go. At the end of our second day, we found the room that was probably most relevant to my YouTube retro gaming channel. We found the games room, and obviously gaming, an incredibly important part of the computing history. We had some classics in there. There was a Dell Optiplex on the end there, which I used to have in my very first job playing Doom. Got a Mega Drive 2, there was a SNES there as well, so Mega Drive 2 obviously playing Sonic, SNES was playing a Mario game, a couple of arcade machines in there as well, Crazy Taxi and Simpsons Pinball. It looks like quite an old one actually. Had a good go on Crazy Taxi. There's one thing actually that wasn't actually in the arcade yesterday, something which they do have at Retroids in Worcester, which I absolutely love, and I absolutely adore the Dreamcast version of this as well, which is probably most true to the arcade version. What a game. And again, another driving game, classic from Sega. Sega, please do more of these racing games. They're just amazing. But yeah, this room was fun. The kids enjoyed this bit the most. Obviously, a lot of these consoles I've got at home, but you know, it's all part of the history, and that's what was really fascinating about it. So, as our day drew to a close, we sort of had a bit more of a wander around. We were sort of getting towards the end of our day now, and yeah, we kind of wandered around. There was just memorabilia all over the place. You know, there was loads of other sort of handheld devices, mobile phones. Did have a quick look in the old phone book to see if our names were still in there, but unfortunately only went back to sort of mid-90s, which we'd already moved away by then. But yeah, did just look to see in case they hadn't quite removed our name yet, but sadly we weren't in there. Kids were a bit puzzled, although they did know what a phone book was, so I obviously brought them up properly. But yeah, so that was it, and that was our weekend. So I'm just gonna wrap up now and talk to you a little bit about what things I picked up at the weekend and what I thought of all of the things that we did, and whether I think you should go and check it out yourself. So there you have it. There was our weekend in Milton Keynes road trip number 3. If you fancy geeking out for a couple of days, I can't think of many places where you would get a better opportunity than Milton Keynes. You know, for me, obviously it feels very 80s, and that might just be because that's when I grew up there, but certainly, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of the architecture and that kind of thing feels quite 80s, and so it has that kind of vibe about it already. But yeah, in terms of the number of things that we were able to do, you know, we were on our feet for the whole time until 5 o'clock on Sunday. From the morning we got there on Saturday, we were just on the go, and even in between, you know, when we went to the National Sci-Fi and Film Museum, and then we went back to Pixel Bunker. We had a sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours in between that. We were just in the shopping centre in CX, and then a little independent game and retro store and that kind of thing. So there was just so much to do. When we went over to the Snow Dome later on to go to the Hangout, We also, you know, there's just loads of other things to do there as well. Loads of places to eat, big cinema, Tenpin bowling. There's obviously the skiing and snowboarding there. You know, there's just loads and loads of things to do. Mini golf, and there's also an ordinary arcade as well, big modern arcade as well, which we didn't go in. Yeah, so plenty of things to do if you fancy a weekend there. The kids wanted to kind of go and live there, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, I've always got a soft spot for Milton Keynes anyway. I mean, you know, I spent a lot of years there growing up, although I'm not from there. Yeah, everyone says it's a bit like an American city, but I think it's quite unique, really. I mean, it is a triumph in urban design, you know, with a grid system, but outside of the city centre, which does have a very American vibe about it. There's a grid system throughout the rest of the city, but each of the grid squares are quite big, and inside those grid squares are the estates, which are very English, and the idea is that they're little sort of communities, like a village with a centre and little sort of twisty cul-de-sacs and roads and things like that. So it's not like anywhere else that I really know. It is quite a unique place to visit anyway, even if you're sort of interested in that side of things. So yeah, it's not, you know, it's not the south of France, it's not Paris, it's not New York, but it's definitely not New York, as I pointed out at the beginning. It is not New York, and that wasn't the United Nations building that I filmed outside of. But it is definitely a place worth visiting if you've never been before. But specifically, you know, if you really fancy that geek out moment, you know, we 5 different venues that we went to, and we could have gone to more over that weekend. So not a particularly expensive place to stay either. You know, it's not a traditional tourist place. So you know, the hotels were relatively cheap. We stayed in the city centre. Lots of things to do, lots of places to eat in the evening. So if you want to go and play in an old-fashioned arcade, and you want to go to a sci-fi museum and solely see a load of Star Wars memorabilia, and you want to learn about Codebreaking during the Second World War and the history of computing, well, there literally is nowhere else in the country that you could do that. So definitely worth a visit. I was on the lookout for a console. I thought I might come home with a Master System at the weekend, but weirdly I didn't find one. It's quite a big CEX in Milton Keynes, and I did not find a Master System or a NES or anything else, actually, for that matter. But I did buy a bunch of stuff, so I'm just going to talk you through all my pickups just as I close out the video. So I mentioned in the Hangout that it was a little charity place, and they had a lot of bargains in there, so I actually picked up quite a lot of stuff. In fact, all the games that I picked up from there. So I'll run you through what I've got. So I picked up PlayStation 1 version of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Not a particularly amazing game, but a game I remember playing on the PS1. In fact, actually I played it on the PS2, because I had a PS2 when this came out. As some of you will know, this month I'm going to be having the PlayStation 1 is going to be in the living room, and I'm going to start playing some games on it, so I'm definitely going to give that a go. That was £3. Picked up a copy of Outrun. I don't actually own Outrun. I don't own Outrun 2006. I have ordered Outrun for the Mega Drive, actually, which I should be getting soon, so I'm really looking forward to that coming in the cartridge format, obviously. But picked up Outrun 2, which I haven't seen for a while. This was a little bit more expensive. This one was £14, but this is a game I haven't seen for a long while, so I really want to have another go at this. I remember Outrun 2 being really, really good. I used to own it. Might have been on the PlayStation 3, but I got rid of it, and like so many other games that I regret now getting rid of, so I bought that. Realised I didn't actually own a copy of Red Dead Redemption. I either borrowed it or I lent it to someone. I can't remember. So I either borrowed it and gave it back, or I lent it to someone and never got it back. But Red Dead Redemption is a game I would quite like to play again at some point. So pick that up. That was £3. I come home thinking, what if I still have this in my collection? But I don't. It definitely has disappeared. So looking forward to getting that one again. Midnight Club picked up. Never really played the Midnight Club games. I really picked up Midnight Club 2, and I've been on the lookout for Midnight Club, the first one, but never really found it. So picked that up. That was also only £3 for PlayStation 2. And then I saw this, which I didn't even know was a thing. So this is Lotus Challenge on the PlayStation 2, which I picked up for £1. So I'm going to give that a go at some point as well. Other pickups that I got, so at the National Computer Museum I picked up some pins. So I've got one here, you can see that everything is under control, which I love. This one particularly, I don't know if you can see that, it says, have you tried turning it off and on again? And this one, which I particularly liked, my brain has too many tabs open. 4 of them are frozen and I have no idea where the music is coming from. That is just, that's me. Yeah, that's what my browser looks like. I trigger myself with that. So bought some pins, and then I got a couple of other bits as well. I saw this. I don't particularly expect that I'll watch it, but I just love the box. Saw this in CEX. It's a collector's edition of the original Star Trek. Only cost me £6, and I thought that would look nice on my shelf somewhere. I probably will never watch it, but who knows? Maybe one day I will. I picked up a game called Game On. Yeah, a little trivia game. So if you start seeing some trivia questions coming in, then that'll be why. But picked that up from the Computer Museum actually, which looks like quite fun to play. The kids have already accepted that they might get beaten at this, but I'm hoping that I've educated them well enough that they'll know the answers to at least some of the questions. And then finally picked up a couple of lights. So I picked this up from this place in Milton Keynes that was it was like a little sort of retro shop. They got quite a lot of consoles and old games and things like that in there, and they had these Pac-Man lights, and the guy actually sold me this for £5 because it was an ex-display one, which was really cool. So I decided then also, being as he was only charging me £5, to pick up one of these as well, which was also only £10. So a light up Yoshi egg. So I don't know where I'm going to put it. As you can see probably from behind me, my shelves are already pretty full. So, but you know, that was fun, and I probably didn't spend all that much. Bought a couple of t-shirts as well. So the Hangout was selling t-shirts for just £3, and they were packaged ones. So my son had a Sonic one and I had a Space Invaders one, so some real bargains in there. They got some carts in there as well, and a few consoles and things as well that you could purchase there. So yeah, a lot of, well, I'd say I bought a lot of stuff. I didn't buy a lot of stuff, just a few little bits and pieces here and there. I think the most expensive thing I bought was the Outrun game, which was £14. So not really a lot. Most of it, everything else was sort of a few quid here and there. So yeah, so those were my pickups from the weekend as well. So looking forward to getting stuck in with all of that. That is probably it for the day. Thank you ever so much for watching and sticking with it. Well done if you've got this far. As you probably gathered, I would definitely recommend taking a trip up to Milton Keynes if you fancy that Geek Out weekend. Any one of those locations that you go to visit is definitely worth the trip. If you're coming from a bit further afield, definitely recommend staying overnight and doing a few more things while you're there as well. But yeah, that was really, really good fun, and I definitely hope to get back one day and go and do some more of those things. I just enjoyed that memory trip as well, which was really great for me. So yeah, thank you very much, Milton Keynes, and thank you very much to all of you for watching. As always, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed watching these. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support up to now. Next week, normal service will be resumed. I will be starting off with PlayStation in the living room. So I'm going to start playing some PlayStation games. There may well be a PlayStation review, a game review of one sort or another over the next few weeks. Yeah, at the end of the month, I'll then review the console, as I've said before, and tell you a little bit about what it was like to have it back in pride of place, and whether it's worth going and picking one up, and some tips on how to do that, and what sort of games you might want to look to get you started. So that is coming up. But yeah, I think that's probably it for the day. So yeah, thank you very much once again. Until the next time, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.